back to the channel, guys. Behind me is a beautiful brand new 2023 CT5-V Blackwing from Mr. Harelson. Shipped it all the way to us from Florida for one of our packages, and he's probably happy right now we have the vehicle. We just finished it up, and instead of shipping it back this week, we'll probably wait till after this next hurricane gets through, and hopefully he turns out okay. But I want to go through a little bit of a breakdown of this car. It isn't our normal procedures as cars come to us bone stock 99% of the time. We baseline them and then do our package. This car already had, I'll say, basic bolt-ons done to it, and then we added parts to it. So let me pop the hood and we'll go from there. All right, so first things first, Mr. Harelson had this car. It is a 3-pedal car. Car has a clutch in it. Those of you that don't know these cars, it's like the newest CTS-V. So from, I think it was 2015 or 16 to 19, the V3s came out, and it's essentially the same LT4 platform, just with a new body. So it is still a LT4 short block, LT4 long block, with a 1.7 liter LT4 supercharger, just with a different lid on it, with the Cadillac lid versus like a Chevrolet lid, like the ZL1s. But Mr. Harelson already had mods done to the car when he shipped it to us. It already had long tube headers on it, as well as a Kong race ported supercharger. But it still had a factory throttle body, factory airbox. I think that's it. So just pretty much bolt-ons. We baselined it on our hub dyno. I think it made roughly 630, 640. Don't quote me, somewhere around there. Just bolt-ons only when it came to us. Obviously it was tuned by someone else. I'm not sure who built it or who tuned it. But Mr. Harelson wanted more horsepower and wanted to pretty much maximize the LT4 platform on pump gas. Essentially, this setup with our complete cam package and fuel system is what we call like a 1,000 horsepower package. But he wanted to keep this thing on pump gas. So we kept all the fuel system stock. We took the engine out, did our complete cam package, so cam, springs, retainers, and push rods, reused his headers, obviously confirmed that it was a race-ported supercharger. Then we upgraded to a smaller supercharger pulley up top, a big, larger throttle body, it's a 103 throttle body, as well as a custom 4.5-inch cold air induction system. And I think we even changed, the lower balancer as well. I think it had a stock balancer on it when it came in. We changed it to an ATI just to get the blower speed that we want. So in this case, normally our 1,000 horsepower package includes an upgraded fuel system because we are adding flex fuel to it. So we know it's going to need 30% more fuel to burn. So we normally add a low side fuel system, larger mechanical fuel pump, and larger DI injectors. In this case, we kept it all stock. This thing went from the 630 to 640, all up to 785 rear wheel horsepower. From putting the camshaft in it, throttle body, airbox, and turning the boost up a little bit. So on the dyno, I will say the fuel system is okay. Fuel pressure isn't perfect where I'd want it. So here in a second when we go test drive the car, I still need to log it on the street to see how it looks before we ship this car back to him. But again, he wanted pretty much a max effort 93 octane car, and to have a 4-door car that looks like this and drives like this, if you haven't owned one of these cars or ridden one of these cars, it's kind of hard to describe until you actually get behind the wheel or sit in one. They are so comfortable to ride in, and for this thing to make 785 rear wheel horsepower and the torque this thing makes with this little supercharger, I can't wait to go test drive it. I already know it's going to spin the hell out of these little factory tires in first and second gear, let alone probably into third gear as well. But again, package turned out nice. Things that you cannot see from looking under the hood is a breather. We normally have breathers mounted here or here. We actually, on his case, being the Blackwing, we have the breather in the inner fender here. That way all fumes and everything get run to the back of the vehicle so you don't smell anything in the car. These are $100,000 cars. Most customers want to dress nice. They might go out to dinner in these things or daily drive them going into work. We don't want them smelling any of those fumes that you get from a breather that vents to atmosphere. Most of the ZL1s and Corvettes that we do, some of the ones that we vent out underneath the bottom of the car so they don't stink, or we have them, depending on what hoods they have, if they have a vent in the hood, we try to vent it out the hood so you don't smell it inside the cab. But because this is a fully sealed hood, I wanted the breather on the side of it, and I wanted to run it all the way out to the back, so any fumes that he might smell, you're gonna smell behind the car, not when you're in the car with the AC on. Usually we tell customers to put the AC on recirculate, just so you don't smell it so bad when you are in traffic. He will not have that problem driving this vehicle. But again, looking at it, most people that don't know what this car is will never have an idea that this thing is close to 1,000 horsepower. Now again, this is on 93 octane still. If he wanted to run a fuel additive all the time, which I'm probably gonna tell him, because it is a race ported blower, it makes a lot of boost. On 93 octane, he could run 93 and beat on it and have fun. I'm gonna tell him though, if he is gonna like go to a certain event, or if he's gonna road race it or go race it a lot, I will probably recommend putting some VP octanium fuel in it or 1 can of boost in it, just to help that octane rating. Just in case he gets a little bit of shitty gas, we don't want to risk hurting a brand new engine like this. So again, the build turned out badass. It already was modified when it came to us, but again, essentially our 1,000 horsepower package without E85. So 785 rear wheel horsepower on the hub dyno. That would lay down, I'd say, right over 800 on our Dynojet from previous dyno numbers. But I'm gonna hop in it now, go take it for a test drive. And again, I drove it home last night. It was the first time I drove it. I've yet to make full pulls on the street, so I'm gonna take you all for a ride with me on the street. I'm gonna log it. I'm gonna kind of go over what I'm doing as I'm data logging and let you guys see what it does. All right, we are out in Mr. Harelson's new 2023 CT5-V Blackwing. And we've been doing a lot of these lately. Surprisingly, a lot of them with 3 pedals, and this one is no different. Mr. Harelson sent this car to us all the way from Florida. It had previously been worked on, had mainly bolt-ons done to it. So we kind of built this car, like just added parts to it, didn't do just like our full package. But I would say it's essentially our 1,000 horsepower package for this platform, minus fuel system for E85. So it has no flex fuel sensor on it, and it still has the stock fuel pump in the tank, stock mechanical fuel pump, and the stock DI injectors. Essentially what we're trying to do is a max effort pump gas setup, is what he wanted. So this car on the dyno, it actually made great power. On the hub dyno, it made 785 rear wheel horsepower, which would on our Dynojet would put it over right over 800 rear wheel horsepower on our Dynojet, and that's on 93 octane. Now, this thing does have the race ported supercharger, so we are spinning the supercharger pretty dang hard for this 1.7 to make that kind of power. And because of that, the car is on 93, but I'm gonna tell, again, after I test drive it today, and going off the logs from the street, I'm gonna tell Mr. Harelson, if he plans to race the car a lot, like if it's on a weekend, I would recommend putting some VP octanium in it or some boostane in it, just because of the boost levels this thing's at. And I wanna make sure that when we ship this car to him, it is reliable and still making great horsepower. These Blackwings, again, the Cadillacs, when it comes to the Escalades, the Escalade Vs, the V3s, now these Blackwings, unless you've owned one or driven in one or ridden in one, it's so hard to explain and to show you guys how comfortable these cars actually are. And for me personally, I can fit my golf clubs in the far back, and I have 3 kids. I can fit all 3 kids in the back seat if I want, wife in the passenger seat, and still be comfortable. And then on the weekends, if I want to go out with my buddies and play or just go cruise and have fun, I have the horsepower to do it. This thing comes with the LT4 platform with a 1.7 blower, just like the V3s, just like the ZL1 Camaros. It's just a different body style. To me, it looks a little bit bigger. It doesn't look as sporty in my opinion, but I do love the way it looks, and I absolutely love the way it drives. And now, I'm gonna make my first pull. We're gonna do second gear. It is on factory tires. I'm leaving traction control on because it will spin with the torque this thing makes. I'll let it pull the timing all by itself. That thing sounds incredible. I mean, essentially, I'm trying to compare it to, if y'all watch our YouTube channel, I think we posted a red ZL1 recently. I think it made like 850 to 870 rear wheel horsepower, automatic on E85. This is essentially that same car, just on pump gas. And so you get that kick-ass blower whine, which I just heard under the hood, and then this thing was spinning its ass off in second and third gear. So yeah, 785 on pump gas in a car that is, again, I say this so much about these Cadillacs, so comfortable to ride in and so comfortable to drive. It still has the stock clutch in it, so we are making a lot of horsepower for the stock clutch. If this customer was a drag racer, we would definitely recommend upgrading the clutch. He's more of a weekend cruiser as far as driving it, and then more of a roll racer as far as like 60 to 130s and stuff like that. So he can get away with the stock clutch for now. But again, if he drag races it, we would definitely recommend a bigger clutch. But I'm gonna pull over and check out that log because again, this is the first test drive I've done on the street since coming off the hub dyno. And again, I drove it home last night after I dynoed it just to check drivability. It drives so nice. And now today, again, just for safe measure, because again, this thing has a stock fuel system on it. I just need to make sure that everything looks good. That is literally my only really concern when it comes to this, because again, this isn't our whole package that we just started from scratch. The car came to us previously modded, and we kind of added things to it. And let me look right now. So yeah, it is doing what I thought it would do. Okay, and you know what? I'll just say it for the whole world to see. And Mr. Harelson will see this and then hear me call him. So I just made a log on the dyno. The low side fuel pressure, so the fuel pump in the tank that feeds the mechanical pump, was dropping a little bit on the dyno, but wasn't dropping enough for me to say, all right, man, we should probably upgrade it at this point. We were trying to get away with keeping the stock fuel system on it. But after I just made that pull right there, I can see the low pressure drop right there, dropped to like 48. The top of that gear was about 47. Again, it's not horrible, but I don't like fuel pressure to drop. The last thing we want is fuel pressure to drop, something goes lean and hurts itself. So I'm gonna save this log. I'm gonna stop making pulls now. I might just do, if I do, I can do like a second gear pull. Second and third will be safe. Rail pressure, so the high side still does stay good. So in theory, some other shops might just look at this and send it because the high pressure side is good and everything else looks okay. The injectors, the DI injectors are maxed out, but they're maxing out because of the pressure dropping, but the high side pressure is not really dropping. So all that actually looks okay. I am gonna take it back to the shop. I'm gonna call Mr. Harelson and tell him I would recommend doing a low side fuel system. What that'll do is that'll keep our low side pressure, instead of it dropping, so when I stab it, it goes from 70, it jumps up to like 74, something like that. And then as RPM climbs and we're making more horsepower, fuel pressure starts dropping to about 47 at the end, right before I'm shifting it on each gear. And I do not want that to happen if he makes a longer bomb than I just did. I just did a quick 60 to 130, but some of these customers will stay in it and go even longer than that. So under a big load, we do not want the fuel pressure to drop. Let me save this before I forget. Street. But yeah, so I'm gonna get back to the shop. So if this was our 1,000 horsepower package, it would have already came with a low side fuel system. We do that automatically because we know we're gonna run E85 and we're gonna need 30% more fuel. But because this was gonna try to be an all-out pump gas setup, Didn't really know how much horsepower it was going to make, and doing a fuel system is obviously more labor and more money when it comes to the parts, so we were trying to get away without doing it. But I'm going to call the customer when we get back to the shop and tell him, for reliability, you have a brand new $100,000 Cadillac that drives flawlessly, makes excellent power. Just to be on the safe side, we're going to sell him a low-side fuel system. And if he wants E85 at that point, then he would still have to upgrade to the mechanical fuel pump and the DI injectors. But that car right there, that was a blast to drive at that horsepower right there. So it's kind of hard to want more than that. But if he does, we do the low side, we have to do the high side and the DI injection, then we run E85 as well. And this thing would go from 785 to 850, 880, maybe even close to 900 rear horsepower on E85. But again, I think he's gonna be more than satisfied with where it's at now, just reliably. So I'm gonna go back to the shop, like I said, and we're gonna go ahead and call him and see if he's okay with doing a low side fuel system. If he does not want to do a low side fuel system, what we'll do is we will just turn the boost down a little bit. That way we can keep it safe, so the fuel pressure won't drop so much, and he can do more of a highway bomb without having to worry about going leaning and hurting itself. But everything else, as far as air fuel ratio, looks good. Timing looks good. Intake air temps, I mean, it is hot as hell out today. It's in the 90s again. So, I mean, it does get hot by the end of the pool, but nothing crazy to worry about. Again, if he was racing the car a lot, like doing 60 to 130 events or half-mile events, obviously we'd recommend doing like an ice tank in the trunk or something like that to keep air temps down. But if it's just a weekend toy, you're just accelerating every so often, most people aren't going to go crazy fast to worry about heat soak as much. And most people don't even know if it pulls out a degree or two when it gets warm. But yeah, I kind of rambled on enough. Sorry about all that, guys. I'm gonna head back to the shop now. Like I said, I might, just to show you guys, just because how much fun this car is to drive, I can do it. I'll feel safe doing a second and just getting into third gear and letting out on the way back to the shop if I have some time. If not, we will end this video here and either add a low side fuel system to it, or we'll turn the boost down and we'll get this thing cleaned up and shipped all the way back to Florida. I think he's gonna want to wait on us shipping it back, as I know there's another hurricane heading that way this week. So we will just keep it nice and clean, and like I said, hopefully do the fuel system to it and then ship it back from there. So again, guys, those of you that have this platform, if y'all do own a Blackwing, please give us a call. We have several options to choose from. If you don't want the camshaft in it like this, we can do a bolt-on package with just like a ported supercharger that makes wonderful horsepower on 93 octane or E85, or like Mr. Harelson wanted, he wanted the camshaft in it. He wanted to hear that lope at idle, which these cars, they drive so good, they sound so good. Even though we're putting a good sized cam in it, when I tune these things, because of the Cadillac, I don't like them rocking like crazy side to side unless the customer actually specifically asks for it. So I try to make it idle pretty smooth. And again, this one, I'll stop here early at the light. You can put this thing in gear and literally just, without giving it gas, just let off the clutch and let it roll away without it bucking and surging. It just drives so nice, even with this big cam in it. So again, if you have a Blackwing or any LT4 platform out there, obviously, guys, please go to our website, fill out an inquiry, or just call the shop and one of our guys will steer you in the right direction depending on your needs and goals. But again, I think once the new shop gets close to being finished, I might have to get one of these for a daily driver. I went to get one a while back, and I didn't want 3 pedals just because I drive so far to work where I'm at now. But the new shop will be a lot closer to my house, so I need to decide on if I want 3 pedals for a weekend toy and a daily driver, or just get the 10-speed auto and let it rip without having to bang gears or pushing a clutch that stop sitting in traffic. Yeah. Get off my ass. Just checking the log over. Alright, heading back to the shop now. Like I said, just because we'll do a quick second and then into third. I'm gonna go up to about 4,000 RPMs. incredible. Traction control on factory wheels and tires. That is so much fun. Again, 3 pedals aren't for everybody, especially daily drivers, but it's kind of hard not to have something like this. It's so much fun to drive. And again, that is with stock wheels and tires on, so I left traction control on. The last log I made, it pulls timing all through 2nd gear, a little bit in 3rd. If Mr. Harelson wants it to hook up better, obviously we can put a Toyo on the back of it, and once he gets used to it, then I would tell him to get comfortable to turn traction control off. But for now, even if we did put Toyos on the back of it, I would leave traction control on just to get used to the car and only do it on concrete roads. This thing makes so much horsepower and torque, you see it skating a little bit, and that's with traction control on. So again, most Cadillacs, most people see this car, if they don't even know what it is, they would have no idea what just outran them. Like right now, I just pulled up to a nice AMG Mercedes. He may or may not know what this thing is. I wish we had more space. It'd be fun to run this thing 60 to 130 against something like that. And again, they might not know what this thing is. And most younger people, I think, with 5.0 Mustangs or Challengers or Hellcats, see another 4-door car, they will not expect this thing to be making almost 800 rear wheel horsepower. And again, it's so comfortable at the same time. I can't say it enough. I absolutely love these cars. I love all the Cadillacs. They're great. But again, I'll stop rambling. Again, we're either gonna add a low-side fuel system to it, or we're gonna turn the boost down. Either way, it's gonna stay at the horsepower level it's at. Unless he decides to add a flex fuel sensor to it in E85, then I'll shoot more of this video, or I'll shoot another video showing the gains we got from pump gas versus E85. I'll stop there. Until next time, guys.